The Overcomer series is brought to you by Joniel Alcock, The Gift Curator J.A., Scripture Trinkets by A.P. We see each other many times by our titles, careers, or how we look physically. But behind each face, there's a story to tell about triumph over trial. We can also learn how God has brought us to where we are by His supreme grace and goodness. Let's explore the lives and testimonies of some amazing humans on the Overcomers series. This week on the Overcomers series, we meet a man of many talents. Mario Guthrie is a passionate medical doctor, but he also has a gift for speech and singing, which makes him a great singer and host. Here is his story of helping others as a doctor during the pandemic, how he followed his artistic side to become a singer, and his time working as a podcaster. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Overcomers series. And as you can see, I have right beside me the brilliant, I would love to say multi-potentialite, Mario. Look what he did. He wrote out his entire name. Wow. Mario Evan Guthrie. Some know him as Mario Evan because of his music. Some know him because of the fact that he's a medical doctor and know him as Dr. Mario Guthrie. But here he is in real and living color. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. Thank you for having me here. And I mean, I guess I'm an overcomer, right? Or this is for the overcomers, right?
Yes. So this is what I want to do. You are somebody who does a lot of different things. And as you will have seen from the opening screen, not only is he a medical doctor, but he has been able to do a lot of things because of his creativity. He sings, he hosts at different events, and he even sings at different events. So we want to have a quick discussion about how it was for him to be a doctor during the pandemic, as well as the creative stuff that he was or maybe was not able to do during this weird and difficult time. So before we get there, Mario, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you currently do, apart from what maybe I've already said.
Right. Yeah, Johnny, what do? I am a Kingston-born Jamaican, and I'm a multi-potentialite, as you said. But primarily, I like to tell people that I fall in two spaces. That's the medical sphere and the creative sphere. And as a doctor, I'm a general practitioner. As a creative, I am a musician. I like to write. I like to take pictures. I'm a podcaster. Anything creative I love. And I like to add as a person, I like to help people recognize their potential and to self-actualize. I think at my core, I just love to see people follow their dreams and recognize that there's a piece of the pie for everybody out here. So I just try to help them see that in themselves.
Boy, Mario, some people don't see that piece of the pie now, which you'll get to eventually. But tell me something. In terms of your creative talents, which
Yes.
you have started over time to explore and branch out to different things, how did it start to grow? And well, I guess it's more or less maturing now.
Right.
And where do you see yourself? Probably the next 5-10 years in those avenues.
Well, it's such a big question, but the quick summary of it is it did start out on the performing side. So I used to sing from age 7 at Mona Prep, and then I moved to Campion. I joined the choir there. I moved to UA. I was on UA Singers. And then after medical school, instead of specializing, I worked for about 2 years, and then I decided to go to music college in Boston, Massachusetts at Berklee College of Music, one of the best contemporary music schools in the world. And that's the fast forward from, I guess, the journey. I cannot leave out the choir boys who were my brethren from Campion Choir. And we used to sing a lot around Kingston. And interestingly enough, I was the one that did a lot of the bookings and the collection of the money. And And then my degree at Berkeley was music business and songwriting. So it's interesting how all of it comes together. But to answer your question, I've always ultimately just wanted to be a performing recording artist touring the world creating music. That is it in a sentence. But as I've evolved, I really see myself doing more content creation, directing films, production. My desires just keep expanding in a creative capacity. But musically, another album for sure. And otherwise, I want to create more video content, interestingly enough. So haven't said that in many interviews. So you're one of the first to hear that. But that's a strong desire of mine as well.
Well, it says you must speak it, so to speak, and see how far you can go with it.
Yes.
No use holding it inside. If you have a plan, put it down in, pencil and paper.
Right.
And try to execute it in various ways over time, and something must come of it. Thank you for sharing that, Mario. The other thing which fascinates me is the trek. All right, so you had this passion, this energy for singing and doing creative things, right? Which everybody does, including me, which probably is why I'm doing this, right?
Right.
But you did medicine, MBBS in the Caribbean and University of the West Indies context. And it was subsequent to that you then went and did some more passionate stuff, creative stuff.
Right.
What propelled one to the next? And I don't know, what was your thinking at the time? And how did you see yourself kind of, I don't even want to use that term, but just differing in the ways that you do things.
They are different fields, even though they have similarities. And to explain it clearly, my father is a medical doctor. So I grew up seeing a doctor as an example. He's the only doctor in my family. And so traditionally in Jamaica, a lot of kids are encouraged to get professions. And that was it. I was always singing in the background. I was always singing. So the truth is that the desire existed in me forever to perform, but I never acknowledged it as something that could be tangible. So by the time I had run through the sciences, completed medical school, I was really itching to perform. And I really came to almost like a breaking point where I was like, I cannot specialize because I had no desire to specialize. All I'm thinking about is music. And I think there was also a part of me that wanted to learn more. But there was a part of me that was seeking validation. And Berkeley was my validation. Because Jamaica is an interesting place when you're an R&B singer. If you're not doing dancehall, if you're not doing roots rock reggae, if you don't fall on the extremes of music, a lot of creatives get lost in the middle. So I was overcoming not feeling very acknowledged, not feeling like my talent was being noticed. And a part of me felt like going away somewhere else and learning would really help me to become better and just feel more validated. And it did exactly that. So I went. I mean, I learned about Berkeley and then I went. And it was the best thing I ever did in my life. Best thing.
Or as the proverbial term story says, you came, you saw, and you conquered. And here you are, one album later. Many different places, song later, and many other events, and even now hosting sometimes in morning programs and so forth.
Yes.
So Mario, thanks for that quick intro. Before we get to the next set of stuff that we want to talk about, Mario, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Viewers, please stay tuned because he's going to go deep now into some things in relation to the pandemic and how he was able to do some things despite the season. So please stay tuned. Blessings, everybody, for tuning in. If you have any questions, do pop it into the chat. And we'll be back any minute now. Blessings.
Scripture Trinkets by AP for all your unique tokens and gifts. Check out our line of car trinkets, keyring trinkets, fridge magnets, Christmas ornaments, custom trinkets and plaques, and much more. Go ahead, pick the perfect gift and share the word boldly.
Welcome back to another episode in season 2 of the Overcomer series. And I'm just so thrilled. A brother who I've known for many years is seated here with me. Somebody who I'm very proud of because all of the various things that he's been able to do. And he's here and he's talking about so many things in relation to his work and his life. So Mario, the next thing I want to delve into and talk a little bit about are some of the struggles that doctors face while COVID-19 is going on.
Yeah.
We would have been 2 years now in COVID-19. What have you seen? You're not in the clinic or
Yeah, I'm not so much
hospital setting right
in the
now.
hospital setting right now. But
Right.
let me share
Mm.
my perspective privately, and then I can share some of the perspectives of my colleagues who I still, of course, maintain relationships with. On my end, in the private setting, initially when them tell everybody for Tana, them had patient load dropped significantly. So I was in the office and not seeing any cough and cold because, of course, anybody with a viral symptom was told to stay home. So I felt that in the pocket as well in the beginning, but as pandemic started, they evolved, and as it evolved, people started to come out and be more comfortable coming outside. The restrictions would change from time to time. Then there's vaccination, and then there's COVID fatigue. So vaccination or no vaccination, people have to make money and come out of them yard and go see them doctor. So now I'm back to normal in terms of patient load. People are out and about. That's the private perspective. From a hospital-based perspective, again, the evolution would be from disease enters country or virus enters country, virus picks up in country, people start to die, hospital beds start to fill up. And exactly what you didn't want to happen is happening. The whole reason the restrictions were so strict in the beginning was because you don't want to exceed the capacity of your beds and burden your healthcare system. And then we get burdened. Then you don't have enough staff. And then staff have to work overtime. And then all of these deaths in the ICU. And then who has to deal with that? The healthcare people and the other supporting staff. So I don't really think the average person can have a true appreciation of what a healthcare worker goes through, especially when there are people who are out there feeling like COVID never did real in the first place. And they can't enter the hospital to see even their relatives, but they're not really getting a grasp of what it's like to be monitoring people 24/7, having people in waiting rooms with oxygen saturation so low, but not enough oxygen to give them, and then wanting to be compensated for that, and then also being emotionally and mentally fatigued by that burden. And it's like a domino effect of things. And I mean, I could go on and on this, Janine. And I mean, you can appreciate how overwhelming it is to deal with death and just having a system that doesn't have enough resources to support it. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell.
Yeah, that is a very good nutshell. Actually, a very good what you call it now, summary of all the things that have been happening. And my heart goes out to the doctors, not only because I know a lot of them, but because, of course, I studied this for tertiary education. And it's both a puzzle that doctors are seen as, I guess, one of the premier professionals in our country.
Right.
Yet many times people don't quite understand the stresses that they go through, and they, I guess you could say, give them the sort of support sometimes. Yes, in this pandemic, it almost was as if you're like, oh my gosh, we have to give the frontline workers the support, the doctors and the nurses and the JDF personnel and the Jamaica Constabulary Force persons, all the other persons who we may not have listed who are important and had to be out there. And I wish people would have seen this before the fact. You know?
Yeah, anticipated it and spotted it. And then again, even though support sometimes comes in the form of a 10% discount at a fast food restaurant, which I do appreciate, I think that for me, I would love to see if support was mental health services or increased volunteerism in spaces to give people breaks, appropriate breaks. I wish it would function more like that, but again, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, and the lack of resources sometimes in the different institutions, as well as the I guess you could say the patient load compared to the different more senior doctors can get overwhelming, and it was obvious, and the strain and the pressure was on. make it worse that persons weren't following the protocols, as you rightly said a while ago.
Mhm.
And it caused a debilitating effect. And then persons had their own issues with the vaccines, and then people didn't want to take the vaccines, and
And it's
then
we don't.
more persons came into the hospital, and most of the persons who were in the hospital were the ones who weren't taking the vaccines. So these are issues that people need to understand and know.
Yeah.
So what words would you say to just the general public then on safety protocols in relation to the pandemic and COVID-19,
Right.
and how to, I guess you could say, honor the medical profession enough so that their workload is not as difficult as it needs to be?
I mean, it's such a great question, but I think it starts from us having an understanding of science, which a lot of us, some of us don't have. But understanding of science aside, I think people just need to appreciate that COVID is real and that the consequences of the disease itself can be very, very debilitating. And therefore, you need to practice all of the things in the toolkit in order to not get the disease and in order to keep the burden off of the healthcare system, which includes the social distancing, the wearing of the masks, the sanitizing, and of course, vaccination is a part of the toolkit. I believe in vaccination as a medical doctor and as a science-based person, but I also do not believe in mandates of vaccines, and I also believe that vaccination is a personal choice. So I don't think anyone should be forced into it. That said, the risks and side effects of the vaccines are way less than the complications of COVID-19, the disease. And I think once people can wrap their head around that, they need to make the choice that's best for them. And a lot of people just need to go talk to a doctor and have a one-on-one and sit down and just hash out the stuff, and kind of figure out if it's safe for them specifically. So do everything that you've been told to do because it all helps, and every little something help in this pandemic. So that's my advice to the people.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. The other
Mm.
thing I wanted to kind of think on, and I'm pretty sure you won't be able to give a full comprehensive answer,
Yeah.
and or you will put in your disclaimers.
Right, of course.
But
Disclaimer.
there are many persons, because of the nature of our African heritage,
Yeah.
and because we're in the Caribbean, depend a lot on the herbal related stuff, right?
Right.
And we eat stuff, and we try to do some stuff to build up our immune system. Not wrong with that.
No.
But what's your views on it, especially in relation to COVID-19, and how people may approach it, so that they, I guess you could say, they balance what is in the medical literature
Right.
as well as what presents them in the atmosphere in relation to COVID-19.
I like how you frame the question, and I mean we cannot deny our heritage, our African heritage, and that we are a culture that practice a lot of herbal kind of stuff from long time, right? And a lot of medications come from natural things. So this is fact. What we don't have with a lot of the practices we have is we don't have evidence-based research on like how much ginger I go do this, how much watermelon, how much cucumber, how much this or that is going to bring down this. And because we can't correlate that, my message to my particularly Jamaicans is that do this something them. I don't think there's any problem with it. But because we don't know exactly how it's working, you have to then use it just again as a part of the toolkit. Specifically to COVID, there have been benefits to having certain things in the body like zinc and certain minerals and vitamins, which I would encourage anybody to do anyway, and a lot of which you can get from your food. But some people have definitely gone out and bought supplements to kind of boost up the thing. But again, I would add proper diet, proper nutrition into the toolkit of preventing infection and potentially just staying healthier. Yeah, you may not be able to actually prevent infection, but staying healthier in case you become infected. It's probably the better way to phrase it.
I agree, and most of the stuff that is done like that is to increase the what you call it now, the immune response, and improve your overall health.
Right.
The other thing which strikes me is this vaccine debate, right?
Yeah.
The issues surrounding it are, wow, are so controversial. I mean, I've taken a vaccine, right? I'm pretty
And
sure you
I
have
have
as
as
well,
well. I have as well.
right?
Which one you took?
And
Which one you took?
AstraZeneca,
Astra as
the
well.
double
Same as
dose one.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And my gosh, it is controversial. But from a medical perspective, and I guess a personal one as well,
Right.
can you give one or two words in relation to it, to the general public? And you said yes, you agree that persons should use their own personal rights, so to speak, and make the choice.
Right.
But you do not mandate that you force it on anybody.
Right.
But say no to them. Why it is possibly a good choice or not.
All right, no problem. I saw a tweet where somebody said they hate to see when doctors tell people go and find reliable information because they claim that it's such a kind of vague, nebulous statement, but it's not. I think the thing is that people don't have accurate information to start with. And in making the decision, I just want you to make an informed decision. So if you choose not to do it, I would love to have a conversation as to why. And if you tell me reasons that I think are informed and make sense, I support that. But a lot of people really are just on the bandwagon. Them they know the hearsay, them get a WhatsApp thing that don't have any footnote. We don't know where it come from, and they're using that to say, "Yo, I'm not taking no vaccine." So scientifically, vaccines create an immune response, and the side effects of the vaccine overall are less than the effects of the disease. And that's my risk benefit is how I always approach this conversation. You jump in a car, you put on a seatbelt, knowing that the seatbelt may crack your ribs. But you also know if you never wear the seatbelt, you could have fly through the windscreen and bust your head. You may get damaged. One damage worse than the next damage. I'm not saying vaccines are damaging, but we know that they're not foolproof and that we are seeing that there are a small percentage of people get clots and other things. So we know something could happen to you from the vaccine. But when we weigh the risk versus the benefit of disease effects and vaccine effects, the benefit of the vaccine outweighs the risk of the disease. That is my argument, and that is what I leave with people as they decide. And I let them know that most people are eligible for it, especially if you have chronic illnesses like diabetes and hypertension. Mm-hmm. And the people who really cannot take it are a small subset of people who have either severe allergic reactions to the vaccine or a subset that I don't see in the text, but I call them people with clotting disorders and low platelet disorders. Platelets help your wounds to heal when you get a cut. I think those are a special subset of people who I would consult a physician if I had a deep vein thrombosis, a clot in your calf, or those kind of things. I think based on the fact that some of the vaccines cause clots, if you did have a clotting disorder, I would consult a doctor. But outside of them two big categories there, practically everybody else can get the vaccine. HIV, sickle cell, diabetes, hypertension, asthma, all of them. Obese, everybody.
Yes. Because of course, especially with the AstraZeneca, it had the unfortunate side effect of that clotting.
Right.
It is such a huge topic, and we could probably sit here and speak for another 4 hours. Right?
We can't go into vaccines, but
we can't go into it tonight at all. The other thing which interests me is your creative elements, right?
Yeah.
So you have an album out, and put a plug in for it right now.
Right. So everybody needs to listen to my debut album, which was released in 2015, but it's still bad. It's Reggae Soul Volume 1, Me and Love, which means there's probably going to be a Volume 2. But Johnny is going to put a link down in the
tell them where to get it. MarioEvan.com.
MarioEvan.com. You can find it on all streaming platforms. It's there. Spotify, Deezer, anything you listen to, type in Mario Evan, EVON. It's there. Listen to all of it. It's nice.
So all right, great. So the reason I'm asking you is you sing at different events, right?
Yeah.
Like you used to do a lot of hosting at different events, and you've even been on morning programs.
Right.
But what's happening now with all of that sort of creative effort?
Well, let's talk about being a creative in the pandemic. So at least when I was doing, at least at private practice, I continued to work. So I never had a work from home. I continued to work. as a performer, I lost absolutely about 30% of my overall income. It would be nice to say that my medical and creative things are 50-50, but it's not. It was really about maybe 70-30, but literally no performances at all. So 30% is significant. That's a significant hit in income. And for me, you just put your hands together and say a prayer. And I just ended up putting a lot of my energy in the private practice. So it was a weird blessing because my practice now has picked up so much because I think I was very focused on one thing. So I give thanks for that. And now the entertainment is picking back up again. So I'm being called to do more events, being called to host more events as things open up. So again, pandemics and evolutions and being patient. People need to be patient. I wasn't promoting myself. People still have me in their mind's eye. I still get recommended for stuff. And now I'm here on your program. I'm here doing different things again in the creative space, and it feels awesome to be creative again. I'm not gonna lie, because the pause was painful for a lot of us creatives.
It was, and you were on a program the other day about was it diabetes or something?
Right. So but here's the thing: I'm appearing on these programs as a guest, but in a medical capacity. So it's interesting. Most times I would appear as Mario Evan, the singer. But now I'm doing a lot of talks on COVID. I'm being asked about diabetes. So I'm in the media space, but more in my medical capacity, which I hadn't anticipated, and which I again give thanks for, because all of it comes together.
It does. And the thing with losing income,
yes,
and I guess you could say not necessarily losing it, but maybe a reduction in it.
Yes, that's up.
It's always a strain, isn't it?
Yep.
And you could see the pressure. The pressure was on for everybody. Whether it is that, my gosh, that you had the inflation rate going sky high, the dollar was weakening, and the prices of goods and services, and even the gasoline for your car and the fuel for your house, went up. Your pay just goes so, or it goes so. It stayed the same, or it goes so.
Sure. And so many people lost jobs too.
Right.
So you're unemployed in a pandemic.
Oh my. So do you have any tips for persons in your sort of thing, whether it's creative or medical doctors who may be doing private practice, on what they could do to just assist with the sort of professional stuff that they're doing?
Well, I mean, we're talking about specific to the pandemic and how you respond to it, is what you mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
I think these tips would be for anyone who had lost income, or as you said, reduced income, or lost, because some people lost jobs in the pandemic. I think we need to do some baseline financial things, which is use what you need, don't live above your means, be patient and grateful for what you have, because you're going to have to lean back on it. A lot of us learned brand new skills in the pandemic, and we had to lean on things that we probably never even knew were inside of us that ended up being our new jobs. So I guess my overarching comment is, outside of just being frugal, I think the pandemic was a weird blessing because it allowed a lot of us to sit back and introspect a bit and tap into elements of ourselves that maybe were always there but never had the opportunity to come out, or that we never knew were there. So I think this is such a unique, difficult, but amazing time, because we have been given time. And time is everything. And the older you become, you'll recognize time is money, time is everything. And we were given an illusion of time, at least because we were working from home. We had to slow down. We couldn't be everywhere we wanted to be all the time on our time. We were regulated. And when you have time, you think. And when you think, you come up with new things. So, yeah.
Tell me about telemedicine. Did you try it during that time period, and what sort of results did you have from it?
I did. It was a pivot for me. So I am actually registered on MD-Link, but strangely enough, I wasn't using MD-Link that much. But I did have a few telemedicine visits that I set up through my own practice. And I wouldn't say it was the bulk of my practice, and that's because I'm an old school doctor. I still like to see real patients and examine them, though there is this list of diseases that you can call in a prescription for. I don't really like to practice medicine that way, but it is the way that we're moving, and I did embrace it for a little, but I'll say I much prefer seeing people. I mean, the results were okay, but I would still say the bulk of my patient load was real life people.
Those are very, very good talking points, Mario. We have to go to another commercial break. And when we come back, we go into a little more in depth into some things in relation to his work during the pandemic and maybe a little bit about what it has taught him. He went a little bit general, but maybe he's going to go a little bit more specific about what it has taught him about himself more and just life and work in general. So come everybody, stay tuned, put in the comments in the chat there, and please do stay tuned for the next section where we get more in depth with Mario Evan Guthrie. Soon come. You can become a part of the Overcomers series. Ready to get in on the action?
Look out for giveaways each week from March 11 to May 6, 2022. We will also be gifting prizes from Scripture Trinkets by AP.
If you are a follower on social media, you may win cool Overcomers gear. We'd also love to hear your story of overcoming. There'll be a winner of an amazing gift box from the gift curator JA. What has Christ done for you that you thought you would not be able to accomplish? What have you been able to achieve against all odds? Tell us in a video of less than 1 minute and hashtag Overcomers Challenge, or email it to us at johnnyljralcock@gmail.com. Further details on social media. Remember, with Christ in the vessel, you can smile at any storm. Here's to a great season of overcoming. Welcome back, everybody. This is season 2 of the Overcomers series, and I'm here with the young man Mario Evan Guthrie. Of course, he's older than me, but I just have to make that joke.
Don't tell anybody that, Jay. I'm a young boy.
Because most people know my age, you know. I just type some things online all the while. But you don't look it. And that is part of one of the things I want to talk about as we proceed here. Because this COVID-19, oh my gosh, it was not nice. It's still not nice. We're locked in. We're getting all sorts of weird, lonely feelings. We have to be on our WhatsApp, on our Zoom. We're using a platform called StreamYard now to get this thing out to everybody. Sometimes you don't get to meet nobody unless it's right in the same family setting.
Yeah.
And many persons were asked to be shut in. Some lost jobs. Some get work from home. Unfortunately, those who are frontline workers were pushed into the fore at a dangerous time. My gosh. How would you say that you were able to go through mentally and emotionally some of these things? And what are some tips that you would give to others to assist them in this sort of time? Yeah.
Right. Well, let me share some personal experiences. I caught COVID in November 2020, and it was mild, thankfully, but I was quarantined for the 2-week period. And of course, in the early part of the pandemic between March 2020, even for most of 2020, we were in a phase where we were still trying to understand how to navigate it in the workplace. So if one person caught it and there was relatively close contact, usually a whole department or entire building would be shut down. So, you had a lot of people going home for 2-week periods. So I had a couple COVID scares in the workplace. I also work at Sagicor. So I remember having one there where somebody may have been in contact with someone and we had to shut down. So being locked in your house for 2 weeks, a very interesting thing. And at least I have family members who could come and drop groceries at my door. But imagine you don't have nobody to call, or you don't have no money for buying a delivery, because those things never happened in the beginning with delivery. We had a couple, quick plate and this and that, but then supermarkets and people start delivering. But even if you couldn't do all of those nice things, you will go mad. You will go mad in the house. And my mental health for sure was affected. Like now that I'm here at this phase of the pandemic, I can look back retrospectively and I can tell you for sure that I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I entered a space of reclusion. I generally like to be with myself. I'm somebody that enjoy my own company, but something in my spirit never sit good. I wasn't right. I didn't want to see people. I didn't feel like talking to people. And I think it's the pandemic. I don't know. After being home for a while now, then I started to like to be home. But I don't know if I was happy. So it was a weird feeling. And in all of that, I had to meditate more. I am a man who pray too. So I pray, but meditation is a separate thing from prayer in a way, even though prayer is meditative. But I did start to meditate, and that opened me up a little bit more. I journal, as much as people don't like it. Writing is very therapeutic for me. And I free write. So I will just start to write, and I write whatever my heart and my head feel to talk about, and I just let it out on the paper. And I found that helpful. And I exercise. I have always exercised, and even though I wasn't in a gym in the beginning, I was exercising in the community that I'm in. So I would jog or walk. But generally, I like to lift as well. But of course, I didn't get to go to the gym in the beginning. So long and short is healthy activities, communicating with your friends, virtually or otherwise, journaling, meditating, praying, exercising. Those were my go-tos, and they kept me stable while I was going mad in the house.
Yes, and I can understand because you're, let me get this right. You're an introvert because you love to stay inside, but you were always outside doing things. So
Right.
the normal habitual nature of just going out and doing what you were used to must have been frustrating.
I'm glad you mentioned this introversion, extroversion thing, because
Yeah.
growing up, I always identified as an extrovert. And I still think I lean a little bit to extroversion. But in this pandemic, I started to question whether that was changing. And I think it may have changed for the good. I may be an ambivert, but
Maybe.
now I'm wondering if I'm leaning a little more to introversion. And that's because I'm not as fed on the energies of being outside and around people anymore. So, but these things can change as you mature as well, even though I'm younger than you, Jim.
Yeah, man. Because even myself, because of the nature of media work which I do,
Right.
there was not 1 week where I was not somewhere on the road, some event, videoing and social media, and that's changed.
Yeah.
And similarly to you, I had to find ways now, mostly at home apart from the weekends, read some things, build up my mind,
Yeah.
pray, meditate on some stuff, learn something new, pick up some new hobbies, communicate with others. My church community was very important during this time period. My gosh, it was one of the most fascinating things to see that well, personally, of course, was starting and improving in my, what you call it now?
Your spiritual.
Yeah, my spiritual maturity, because I was actually training to be an elder, right?
Mm-hmm.
All in the pandemic. It was so weird. And everything that we did was actually online.
Right. I ask you if you had any in-person,
Jeez.
virtual.
But then the Sundays now, because I was in that same training period, I would have to go to assist the things that were happening at church.
Mm-hmm.
But many persons may not have had that experience and were locked in,
Right.
secluded, probably working from home, just skirt out quick to get something to eat and or get something from the supermarket, skirt back inside. And it must have been weird. Now it's opened out a little.
Yeah, man. It's a little yeah.
But during that time, I was very much aware, especially of the younger persons, of how it affected them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
because they're not used to that sort of thing, right?
They suffered a lot, and I felt it for them. Yeah.
Right. And I just pray that we do take some of the protocols, as you've advised earlier, and try to reach some sensibility in terms of how we approach this thing.
Yeah.
We were discussing before we came back on about the new normal. We've
Yeah.
always had this new phrase since this year, especially, that there's this new normal, new normal. But what is this new normal? I mean, I can't define it because, yes, a lot of things are more digital based or technically based, right? But what does that mean? And how does a man or woman navigate themselves to say, this is the new way now that we're passing through and trying to quote unquote survive and even thrive in a time when there is a deadly disease that can affect anyone?
I mean, in response to that, the truth is that we will not be able to define a new normal, and that's because the pandemic evolves. So, I mean, of course, the Spanish flu 100 years ago, if you look into the history of it, it actually lasted a few years. I mean, people are thinking this would be a 2-year thing, but when you really look at it, it went on for more than that. So, if we're looking at history repeating itself, then we only kind of at the 2-year mark, right? So we have more to go, but things did eventually go back to normal. So, and when I say normal, I'm talking about physical things like not having your temperature checked when you walk into a store, not having to wear a mask every day, not having sanitizers. But I think we'll probably always have sanitizers now in stores. We'll probably always have people walking out with masks, like in China. We'll probably have certain things that before we never did that we will now accept as specific people doing this to protect themselves. And mentioning technology, I think the advances will benefit us in some ways. We don't always have to have meetings in person. And it's going to be much more convenient for people. We're doing a lot of things online with banking, which we couldn't have done before. We had to go inside. I love some of that stuff. So I hardly even see cash sometimes. I got money enough to pass through my hand. At least when somebody try to rob me out the road, I don't have no lip of cash in my pocket unless that's your thing. But you have the option now, which is awesome.
Yeah, man, I agree. And most of my bills, for example,
Yeah.
I pay them online. The
Yeah.
only thing, of course, is like if I have to get groceries. And luckily, I have some assistance with that.
Yeah.
And the world has changed. I agree. More than likely, when you go on the road, you'll probably still be wearing your mask if you're so inclined.
Right.
You have to get sanitized
Right.
and, probably get temperature checked. Maybe.
Maybe. Right.
Maybe. But the new normal is something that we probably won't see fully yet or
No.
understand until
No.
it actually
Okay.
appears and goes through its process.
Yeah.
Maybe the new normal will be that we get a mandate that say, just like we're trying to get this vaccine thing sorted out,
Yeah.
that we have to get another booster every year or something.
Yeah.
Just like flu vaccine, especially in the United States here, or something like that. But we can't see it yet. And that also is something that causes a little bit of tension and
Anxiety, especially if you're
anxiety for
anxious,
persons.
right? I'm not terribly anxious. That's my good thing. It's a blessing. So I can actually watch this ride out. So I have a friend who basically, anytime something new happens, I get a barrage of WhatsApp messages about new variants and stuff. And as a doctor, yes, I need to be on top of it. But as a human, I actually block out a lot of the noise. Matter of fact, I have periods where I watch 7 o'clock news all the time. And I have periods where I don't watch the news at all. And that's also one of the coping mechanisms people need to take on. Setting boundaries for yourself with social media and information overload. It can be very, very burdensome on you. And you don't even recognize how much you process day to day with the digital, with your phone and other digital spaces. So people need to be cognizant of that, because I realize when I shut it off, I come back to this space of calm that is so peaceful that I recognize, okay, so it's Instagram doing this to me. Or maybe it's how I am processing Instagram that's doing this to me. So that means I need to shut this down for me to feel better. Other people can do it and they're fine, but for me, I have to take breaks, very deliberate breaks from social media.
Yeah, I agree. I do similar things as well.
Mhm.
And the majority of the times that I do that, it is I do social media. So there's
Exactly.
nothing that I'm
Maybe it's
probably
worse.
online that I'm not in some way aware of anyways.
Right.
So I just stay away from the TV most times.
Yeah.
If I'm watching the TV, it's just a quick Netflix, binge watch some stuff, and then rest.
Yeah.
Or maybe some YouTube videos with some songs or
But
something.
you're selective, I'm sure, about what you put.
Right.
Yeah?
I am very selective.
Mhm.
And so selective sometimes that I will pick up the remote, start to scroll through, probably spend all 30 minutes looking for
Scrolling.
something, and I'll fall asleep.
And there, our problem is solved right there.
And the problem is solved. I was turning it on to relax my brain.
Yeah.
And then I just fall asleep anyways. But we're laughing, but this thing is
Seriously.
just, it's the way currently. And what I learned about myself during the pandemic was how much I valued a bit of time with myself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm always in spaces where I have to be talking to somebody about something or assisting something or doing something in leadership or something like that, right?
Likewise.
And I realized that, especially in the times when I didn't need to do so, early morning, late evening,
Nice.
that I treasured it a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is one of the things that I did do, creative things that I was able to produce and do were during those times, because my brain started to fire on different things, right? And I found, apart from that, that I was resting a little better.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't before. I would just drop at the sound of a hat and fall asleep. But my mind seemed at ease. And it was so fascinating for me.
Yeah.
That you mentioned you're realizing that you're kind of probably more an ambivert than you realized before. What was there anything else that you saw, knew about yourself, or found in this COVID exploration, I guess you could say?
You know what? Like most people, I've always thought of myself as resilient. So I've never ever doubted it. But I think more than ever, I recognized how resilient I am, and also, I think I stepped into a new level of calm. So it's more like growth. I think there was a lot of growth in the period, and I recognized a lot of things that I needed to remove from my life because I had a lot of time to process, and that included people, activities, and I weeded them out with great intention, to create a more peaceful life for myself. Some of my friends call me Boundary King, and it's a funny little joke because I'm really great at setting boundaries, but I wasn't growing up because I'm a Libra and I'm the scale, and we like balance and we like peace and we're very friendly, and we tend to, some people say we're people pleasers. So evolving from that kind of human into the adult I am now required me setting a lot of boundaries. So Boundary King became even stronger at setting boundaries and protecting my peace. I'm good at it.
Yeah,
so,
man,
for example, I'm the type of person where, respectfully, if I'm at the office and I have work hours, I'll answer my phone during work hours. And when work done, I don't answer my work phone. And I don't feel guilty about it. And that's the thing. You can't feel guilty about setting the boundary. The boundary is there to protect you, or you're going to work forever. So you lock up the phone, and when the morning come, you deal with it. The people will survive.
Yeah, I agree, and that's important, because what's happening inside here with a lot of persons is this need to be doing something, have to be doing something.
Yeah.
And they forget the balance of life is, it's not just work or financial, physical, emotional, mental, social,
spiritual,
and you know where I'm going. Spiritual. And if they just stay on this work, come home, probably just fall asleep, gorge themselves with some fast food, get up back.
Cannot be healthy.
That can't be good.
Can't be good.
And this COVID-19 assisted us so well to just start to analyze some of these things and just look back and say, was that really how I was living? And I'm hoping that through this, it does give some, I guess, introspection time for many persons.
And for me, I want to say sitting in gratitude was another great thing that came out of the pandemic. I'm fortunate enough to have both parents alive. They're still married. I think they're at 49 years now, and they're still functional. So I have a couple things that I have that exist in my life that are very dear to me, and my family is high up. And I think when you see people losing family members to illnesses, but especially to COVID, and it happening so quickly and suddenly, you can really sit back and be like, wow, I'm alive. Wow, I have friends. Wow, I have family that are elderly, that are alive. And we can still share space and time. That for me is everything. So I think you can really step away from, again, as you said, all of these things that we deem important, like work and money and even fast food, and recognize, boy, I'm going to just eat a little tin something because that's what I have. I want to spend time with the people I can be around, and I'm just going to be happy that I woke up. And that's it. Simple. That's life right there. And
Jeez. Mario, you hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah, I look like I touched a button there for you. I touched a good one.
Yeah, man, because it has to be that life is more than that.
Yeah.
And God teaches us that. But we were just so, let me work.
We were distracted.
Life.
We were distracted.
We are
distracted. We are a distracted people. We are distracted.
Mm-hmm. So a distraction came to kick us away from our distractions and get us back to our center.
Yeah, we have a bigger distraction to make we sit down and just look back on ourselves. Mm-hmm.
Mario, thank you so much. We're going to another quick break, and then we'll go to the last segment before we close. Thank you. Everybody, put in your comments. If you have any comments right here, we'll try to bam, answer it quickly back. And please do, if you are on Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook, this will be streaming on both Facebook and YouTube. Share it on your different avenues, and comment, and we'll try to comment back to you. Blessings. We soon come back right after this quick commercial break.
Hi, my name is Melissa Thompson, and I'm the owner and founder of The Gift Curator. We're a full-service online gifting business that specializes in custom and curated gift designs for any occasion life has to offer. Basically, the service that we offer, the individual who is purchasing the gift doesn't at all come in contact with it in terms of packaging or anything. All of that is handled for them, and it can be delivered directly to their loved one's door.
So welcome back to another episode in season 2 of the Overcomers series. We are seated here with Dr. Mario Evan Guthrie. Mario Evan, the singer. Mario, the host, and many other things. And we've been having such a great time. I hope you've been enjoying the episode. And we just want to close out with a few tidbits. We spoke so much about COVID-19. We spoke so much about his work as a medical doctor, as well as a creative. But maybe you can look at it in a broader aspect now. What do you think is some of the things that we can do both locally and regionally, and probably even worldwide, in terms of this pandemic, and how it is that we can get some of the numbers down? I mean, right now there are so many different variants that it's just crazy, right?
And they keep continuing.
And they keep continuing and adding more and more variants over time, which will happen because of the nature of what this virus entails. But we can't really stop that. No. What are some things that we can, and how do you think we should try to approach it together as a worldwide community?
All right, let me answer this with my medical organizational mind. Let's start small. We spoke a bit about this before, which is personal responsibility. So you need to have your own like a sanitization kit. You need to have a mask. You need to have multiple masks, put them in multiple places, one in your car, one in your bag, one in your purse, one somewhere where you can't lose it. And basically, that's me telling you to social distance, treat this as a real thing, do the things you can do in your personal space to protect yourself and those around you. When we widen it now to nationally, I think our government did an excellent job in the beginning of the pandemic. We had good restrictions, we had good protocols, we had work from home order, we had the elderly isolated. We were on top of it. And I think they made a few faux pas along the way, which included opening up the entertainment industry without proper monitoring. And I say this without harsh judgment on them, because I am not a politician, nor am I the prime minister. And if you know the powers that be, every sector has somebody who carries a lot of weight, probably a lot of money that they push into the country. And they're going to be pressing the government to get what they want for their businesses to continue. And I think we need to be sensitive to the government as much as we need to be analytical and critical as well. This is a Libra in me, balanced response. But the truth is, in one breath, we could do better as a country. We need to increase our vaccination rate. I don't think they're doing enough activities to make that happen. I don't understand how we can have lockdowns when we were having them, yet you don't have JUTC buses busing people to vaccination sites, yet so much people want to drive. How that makes sense? So little things like that, like how you have a blitz and the country is locked down, but you don't have transportation provided for the people who cannot get there, who may want the vaccine. And I think some of those things need to be thought through a little bit more. Some people don't even know that vaccination sites are open on weekdays. So it makes me wonder, what mechanisms and tools are you really using to remind people, apart from the PSAs on TV, to tell them that this thing is available to you all the time? Anyway, we'll leave Jamaica alone. Internationally, each country is going to do what they need to do to protect themselves. As we see the new variant come out, a bag of flights get banned from many different African countries. Every man for himself. Some people going back to mask mandate because they see that cases going up. So, I mean, for us to really do this thing, we need to have a unified vision. And this is where the problem lies. It is impossible to vaccinate an entire world at the same time. And had we been able to do that, it would have helped. But it's not possible because it's not. So what we are going to have to do is ride this thing out. And I think eventually, medically, COVID-19 will become endemic, meaning that it will not be causing widespread deaths. It will be a lot like the flu. And we won't have to do all of what we're doing now. Just that the time frame might be longer than we had planned for. And we just have to be patient and wait. And we'll make it. We'll make it through. Some will succumb, but we'll make it through.
Yeah, and it's sad that is the reality, isn't it? But it seems as if, just like the Spanish flu, their cases will come.
Mm-hmm.
Different waves of the virus will come.
Will come, but
it will cause some deaths, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
And it's only after a certain load of persons have passed through the virus issues that we have.
Or the vaccine.
And then the next variants come and that does what it does, that it will eventually die down.
Yeah.
And wow, it's sad. It's sad, but we can just do what we can do. Wear a mask, keep the social distancing going, ensure that we have the the vaccines going, and
just do the best we can.
and do the best that we can. And the different restrictions, both locally in your specific zone, in relation to restrictions for persons coming in and out of your country, but also worldwide in terms of who comes in based off what they've been vaccinated with or not, as well as doing the test before they leave and go to the next zone. And
it's such a delicate reality. Yeah, it's the problem with governments managing pandemics. It's such a delicate balance between economy and health, and it's like economy affects health. So when the country's making money, then things become more difficult and the violence increases. And so you have to give it to them that they're probably trying to do the best with the resources they have. So
yes, and I cannot knock the government because. As you could see, they did a very good job, especially in that March to August 2020 period, right? But it takes some time, and it just ultimately it had to happen that the cases went up, as it did
Yeah,
in many other countries.
it's hard to maintain it. Yeah.
Because so many persons pass through the island, especially for tourism related stuff.
Mhm.
But let's see and let's pray for the best. The
Yeah.
other thing I want to talk to you about is your career and where you see yourself in the future. You're a multi-potential. You do various different things.
Yeah.
And you did give us a tidbit of something that you're thinking of. So
Yeah.
what do you think you would like to do in terms of um,
The future. Eh?
the future, and how is it that you're going to lead to then achieve them?
All right. Well, they say that you mustn't give away everything that you're going to do, and I won't. And as this series is called The Overcomers, I want to make an honest statement. I'm always very honest in interviews, and I think sometimes the greatest thing we have to overcome, or person we have to overcome, is ourselves. And again, you're getting exclusives, Johnny, because I don't think I've ever said this in this way, but I think I've known for a long time that my greatest dream and passion is to be a full-time creative. I've known that for a long while. But I've also had great difficulty leaving the medical field because it is such a very direct and obvious demonstration of purpose. Medicine is like, you don't have to question whether you're helping people or not. It is thrown in your face that you are doing this and people benefit and they are happy about it. So I think I've battled with leaving it, not so much to impress people or family or anybody, but because a part of me feels like there's such a great purpose tied to medicine. But if I'm to speak to the core of my heart, how I plan to get to where I dream of being is eventually to probably stop doing medicine. And again, I don't feel guilty about saying that because we need to recognize within ourselves what our true callings and passions are. And if I can find a way, which I intend to do, to eventually wean myself from the medical sphere and maybe function in medicine in a different capacity, as in not being a practicing physician, to create more time to be a creative. That's my ultimate goal and dream. And I don't have a very specific goal in creativity anymore. I want to be a multi-potential like creative. So music will definitely always be a part of it. But the sky is the limit. And for me, life is about experiencing things and trying new things while you're here on the earth. So I'm gonna be like Kobe. I'm gonna make a film, I make a short film, I'm going to make YouTube content, I'm going to sing, I'm going to act, I'm going to dance, I'm going to write, I'm going to take picture. Because all of that brings me a certain amount of joy and probably the highest level of joy. And I want to resonate right in that space. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. But it must have some. Do you have a timeline in your mind? I mean, obviously, this is something that you've been thinking of.
I'm
But,
always thinking about it.
but you're a doctor, a medical doctor.
Yeah.
So the transition, you're towing the line now, right? We're doing both.
I mean, actually, I've crossed the line and stepped back. So that's the thing too. So when I left,
maybe just jump in. To the
when I
next.
left music school, I was definitely
periods.
more on the creative side.
But
And then the pandemic has pushed me back to the academic side.
ah,
So that's the next top point I guess you can make, that you have to flow as well with life. So there are the many desires that you have, but you can't be so rigid that what you think you want for yourself, you feel you have to get, because God might have a different plan for you. So that's why I try not to be super rigid, because maybe where I'm sitting now is where I'm intended to be. So as I've expressed what I desire, I also sit where I am and embrace it. And I sit present in it, because I am here and this is all I can do. I'm working with where I am now.
oh, you evaded me, man. I wanted to see you say in about 5 years.
Actually, maybe actually about 3 years.
All right. Maybe about 3 years. I think maybe I would, instead of having 5 days at my private practice, I would probably have 1 or 2.
I only work
safety, and then I'd be writing some articles and out on the road doing some hosting and
That's the part.
videos
That's the part I won't give you all of. That's the part that
and,
we watch and see. Let's let
and
the
doing some
overcomers
music
watch
and
me.
stuff.
Let the overcomers watch this unfold.
Oh, jeez. You have to give them some taste, man. Taste and see.
Well, actually, Johnny, when you think about me, though, if you really dial back, this is all I've ever done, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's always something new popping up. So, to be, in all fairness to myself, I think I already do it.
Yeah, you're basically doing
I kind of do it, yeah, kind of, so I exist.
Tell them about the Talk Truth podcast. You did tell them about the
Alright, we told them about the album.
Yeah.
Talk Truth with Mario Evan is my podcast. It's a society and culture podcast. We talk about things that most Jamaicans are afraid to talk about, and we touch many topics from being single parents to sex and sexuality to entrepreneurship, and we kind of keep it candid and honest and fair and open and balanced. And it's been a baby of mine. We're on a break now, but season 4 is coming up. I'm 60 episodes in, and I'm gonna start season 4 with episode 61, and we're gonna be dropping that again soon, so people can look out for Talk Truth again. And again, you'll drop links and they can check out all stuff Mario Evan.
Any idea what that second album will be named?
Oh wow, you're going for it, Jay. Going for it. You know, I've had many thoughts about it. I have not settled on a name as yet.
Okay, Evasion. All right.
So, Volume 2. It will be something.
Just called
Volume 2. Volume 2. Something.
Oh, Jesus.
To be determined.
To be determined.
Yeah.
TBD.
That might be the album title.
My brother, thank you so much for coming on and speaking. We're gonna take another quick break, and we'll come back. We'll close this episode of the Overcomer series. Welcome.
Scripture Trinkets by AP for all your unique tokens and gifts. Check out our line of card trinkets, keyring trinkets, fridge magnets, Christmas ornaments, custom trinkets and plaques, and much more. Go ahead, pick the perfect gift and share the word boldly.
So welcome back to season 2 of the Overcomer series. I'm seated here with Mario Evan Guthrie, Dr. Mario Guthrie. And so we are at a pivotal point. The pandemic has ravaged us for 2 years. Mario, we've spoken so much. Thank you for the time. I know you're such a busy person. And blessings. Give him a shout out, everybody. And also check out all of his pages that are streaming as we speak here. Can you speak into somebody tonight? Can you give somebody some hope and just pray for those who may be having a little bit of a challenge during the pandemic, whether they're a doctor, medical doctor, and or maybe they're a creative, and just talk to God and help them in their way as they move through their professional life.
You know, Johnny, let me just first say thank you for having me. 1 and 2, you're the first person ever asked me to pray, and I'm happy about it because you know what? I hardly do it, but I'm glad to do it. So let us pray. Dear Lord, just guide and protect everyone that's going through this pandemic, particularly our healthcare workers, and give them the ability to have strength, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally and spiritually to deal with the challenges that they're facing. And I pray for my creatives as well, because this has been a difficult time for them. Help them to stay the cause, to stay the course, to remember why they started to do it in the first place, but to not be limited by whatever lack they think they're experiencing, because provisions will be made for them. And I wish for you to provide for everyone who feels like they're going through something that will never end, because it will end. And lastly, I just want to pray for Janelle and thank him for creating this space, this platform, this open arena for us to help others to overcome. And I know it will touch their souls and will help them to see things from a new perspective that they may have never thought of before, and only make them into better individuals. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Maybe I'm going to gonna become a deacon next. Who knows? An elder.
Oh,
Never know. We'll see.
yeah, I mean, anything is
Anything can
possible with
happen,
God.
right?
Anything is possible with God,
Anything.
and I believe that. I mean, there are many artists who have transferred and done a lot of
Absolutely.
slash
Haven't we seen them in Jamaica?
pastorship related stuff, and
Yeah.
I can name them from now till tomorrow.
Right?
But I will say that I was blessed because, as you could realize, as you were speaking, I reflected a lot of myself on some of the things that I was doing during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and how all our lives parallel, doesn't it?
Yes.
We're all seeking similar things,
Well, we are.
but this connection between ourselves and each other, as well as how we live our lives respectfully and with humility, is something that we have to approach and continue to challenge each other and be there for each other with compassion.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
blessings, Mario.
Blessings, my
Thank
brother.
you so much. Everybody,
Thank you for having
tune
me.
in next week for the next episode of the Overcomer series. Until then, please remember that despite the season and the challenges, you can still overcome. And I still believe that this can be a great season of overcoming. Blessings. Good night.
Good night.
Here's what's coming up next on the Overcomers series, Season 2, Greater is He.
Going to university, did 4 wonderful years at UTech. I was able to access quite a number of bursaries because of my involvement in sports. So I got book bursaries, I got lunch bursaries because of my involvement in sports, and that is why it's important, because it can assist, especially if you're from a family that's not well off, right? It is your gateway. Education and sports, it's your gateway to the world.
Join us next week for another inspiring and thought-provoking discussion. And remember, you are an overcomer because greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world.